Under camera controls, I noticed this default FaceTime HD camera, but we don't have an HD camera. So yeah, it's live and it's stretched again. Hi guys, we'll be on in about 3 minutes. Thank you. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, Tony. Sorry.
Bye. Bye. We're on early to check the quality of the picture, but we've got quite a lot of trouble. It's more portrait than landscape. Anyway, it's one of a series of technical difficulties we encounter in life, and we pay for, by the way. So relax, have your whatever you're having, your martinis. Let me fix the sound. Okay, let me chart the sound. A little loud. Okay, good. I'm starting about a minute and a half. This is a reused 10,000 times plastic bottle. I refill it. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock here in the northeast of the United States, and this is the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tarduling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically Stages on the Path to Enlightenment, the Lamrim Chenmo of Lama Tsong-kha-pa. Our center is under the direction of His Eminence Chabje Ling Rinpoche and also under the direction of Rato Kenser Thupten Lunduk, also known as Geshe, Venerable Geshe, Nikki Vreeland. I'm from my home tonight because we decided not to go live from the center because I didn't want people, we all didn't want people traveling in this terrible air that we have here in South Orange, West Orange, right, we're next to New York City, right across the river. So their air quality is horrible and ours is horrible. So especially in a car, you're getting more ram air and it's more dangerous for you. So I'm in my house in West Orange, as I am on Monday nights. This program will be tagged with two things. First of all, the second part will be the volume 3, chapter 15 of the Lamrim Chenmo, and the first part will be a continuation of Awakening Wisdom, the book I read from last week. This topic would be bodhicitta, how to develop, and especially the first steps developing a genuine love, the way it's defined in Buddhism. Any problems with our picture, which is not landscape as usual, it's portrait, and we can't get out of it, I don't know how. Picture, sound, etc., text me or Mr. Smith. All the prayers we say are on the Tibet Center website in the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers. So, as usually, we have a full house of things to do, full schedule. So we'll start. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West, for all the people living here, together with their near ones who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them. May all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. And the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas called profound illumination, and at the same time noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing, they are not impure or pure, they neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all sufferings, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi, embraced the bodhisattva, mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. And now refuge and bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjagosha, through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and I prostrate to my spiritual masters, through whose kindness I develop. And as a cause for the swift return of Dr. Trungpa Rinpoche to our sphere of appearances, His Holiness's prayer, a prayer for a swift return, is recited whenever we gather on the website. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Luzang Tubuang Dorje Chang. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of Victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet, you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you to cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Losang Tenpe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So, as advertised, we'll return to Pema Wangyal Rinpoche's text called Awakening Wisdom, which we had last week. And we'll read from the chapter on bodhicitta on page 51, if you have gotten the text, or you don't have to get the text, but this is the bodhicitta section, and it's headed with it's chapter 10, and the heading is Bodhicitta, the Antidote to Jealousy. Interesting. So he goes, he starts. The expressions mind set on enlightenment or thought of enlightenment that are used to translate the Sanskrit bodhicitta, bodhi meaning enlightenment, citta meaning heart or mind, refer to the awakened state of mind. Dilgo Chensei Rinpoche explains why we are so far from being enlightened as follows. This is Dilgo Chensei's quote. The true causes of our continuously being led astray in cyclic existence are attachment and aversion. How have we ended up like this? To begin with, we had a thought of ourselves as individuals. I'll add inherent individuals. This led to all kinds of notions such as my body, my mind, my name, and so on. Then the thought of others arose, me and them. And due to our considering that some of these others are nice or helpful to me, there arose feelings of attachment and desire. Conversely, feelings of aversion and hatred arose with regard to those who we considered nasty or harmful to me. We are incapable of attaining enlightenment because we are caught in the unceasing cycle of attraction and repulsion. Short and sweet, to the point. You can think over that. Arousing bodhicitta, Pema Wangyal Rinpoche starts. Arousing bodhicitta is a practice that enables us to sweep away mental obscurations and subjugate all the afflictive emotions. It is particularly effective in helping us to recognize jealousy and transform it. It's a different take, but the elements are the same when he describes it. This is just a little bit of practical practice points. The teachings speak of bodhicitta as being the ground, path, and result. The ground is the potential for enlightenment that all beings possess, even the tiniest or most aggressive. Tiniest or most aggressive. The path is the teaching that shows us how to develop this enlightenment. The result is the full blossoming of this potential and corresponds to the level of fully enlightened beings. So we have the seed of it. It must be developed. That's all beings with consciousness have it. Smallest insect, the biggest whale, or whatever. As with the refuge, in order to engage in the practice of bodhicitta in the traditional way, we can connect to the uninterrupted lineage of blessings transmitted from teacher to disciple by formally taking the bodhisattva vow in the presence of a spiritual teacher or a sacred object. You don't need to have a teacher give you the vow. You can decide you want to take it. Take it in front of a picture of the Buddha, statue, whatever. You don't even have that visualized. It's your intention that counts. This transmission confers great spiritual force, which will help us to cultivate the mind set on enlightenment without interruption and without difficulty. One can choose a special day on which to take or renew this commitment, but really, any day that we decide to arouse bodhicitta will be special by definition. Big deal. First chapter of Chantadeva's book describes, how rare it is to develop bodhicitta, and immediately starts with the benefit of it. Traditionally, Pema Wangel Rinpoche goes on, traditionally the days of the full moon, new moon, or quarter moon are thought of as being auspicious. Why? Because of the influence of the moon on the subtle energy of the body. Subtle energy of the body. Now he's talking a little bit of a more refined point of view. On such days, our vow becomes more powerful. It might not seem to be the most appropriate example, but it is a little like choosing the exact day and hour that one knows one's enemy will be passing through a narrow ravine to set an ambush, and one is then bound to be successful. Timing. Okay. Telling a joke, timing. However, we should certainly never imagine that bodhicitta can be aroused only in the presence of an enlightened being or on a particular calendar day. Let's not get carried away. He continues. We can perfectly well arouse bodhicitta alone at any time. We can even start doing it now. There'll be a 2-second delay. I'm joking, but really, you can. It's from within. Bodhicitta is for everyone. It's not reserved for an elite. It is something very vast and universal. It is a teaching on love given by all the world's great sages. So I am not asking you to give rise to some special kind of Oriental or Buddhist love. I am asking you simply to let your potential for love develop. As for the duration of this commitment, one can adopt the bodhisattva path for an hour, a day, a month, or until all beings attain perfect freedom. In this tradition that we have, it's the rest of all your lives until Buddhahood. A monk's vow, nun's vow lasts till the end of this particular life. Bodhisattva vow until full enlightenment. That's the meaning we convey here, and that's the thought we develop here. The most important thing is to begin and conclude with a truly positive attitude. So relative bodhicitta, the way he defines it, the 4 boundless attitudes. This is page 53. Like the refuge, the practice for developing bodhicitta consists of relative and absolute aspects. To go further to relative bodhicitta, we rely on various meditational techniques. In particular, those that develop the 4 boundless attitudes, the 4 immeasurables you might call them, which are love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and impartiality. Love, compassion, joy, and impartiality. So we'll start with love. Love, or kindness, refers here to the wish that all beings be happy and know the cause of happiness, just as the prayer says, may all beings be happy, have happiness in the cause of happiness, pardon me. Thank you. On the relative level, the true cause of happiness is kindness, simply having a good heart. The true cause of happiness is having a good heart. Whereas negative or violent thoughts invariably produce suffering without giving rise to a single instant of calm or joy. Kindness and altruism are always a source of happiness and peace. Positive actions, positive. That's all let's talk about here. Ultimately, wishing that beings may know the causes of true happiness means wishing that they may recognize the state of wisdom that is not obscured or altered by afflictive emotions. True happiness, lasting happiness, has nothing to do with the physical body or anything. It goes on forever. True lasting happiness, and not available through any physical means in this world. Excuse me. Okay. Everyone, I am sure, has had some time or another felt a surge of love or kindness that made them want to give the most perfect happiness to others, whether they were someone close or a complete stranger. Sometimes, just a feeling. Such a feeling comes from the depths of one's being, completely beyond intellectual reason. In fact, this capacity is an inherent part of us, and there are plenty of examples that prove this. Maternal love is a striking illustration. In the animal realm, for example, mother birds are known for the great tenderness that they spontaneously show their young. Before laying their eggs, they carefully build a cozy nest well away from predators. Next, they sit on the eggs alone without interruption, indifferent to hunger and bad weather. When the fledglings hatch, the mother bravely defends them without consideration for her own life. And even when she is exhausted and starving, she always feeds the baby birds first. She does this all naturally, without ever expecting anything in return. This kind of unselfish openness, which we feel more easily for those who are related to us, is quite close to the love we are talking about in the present context. The capacity to want to make others happy exists as a seed deep inside each one of us. It is simply a question of making it grow. Constant theme of just realize what you already have. Excuse me. It's been a rough decade. I have to have some fuel to keep going. Next paragraph on page 54, in the middle of the page. It may be that this feeling arises spontaneously, but it is difficult to take advantage of it because we do not know how to express it, or more importantly, make it grow. And yet it is a universal quality by which we are all connected to each other. Since we have this potential, why not develop it until it expresses itself continuously? So it's possible, it's doable, if you want to put it that way. Why not? We should begin by looking inside ourselves to make bodhicitta rise. Then we should develop it and make it stable. And finally, we should extend it on an infinite scale. Now, how do we do this? First of all, you got to know what bodhicitta is, read about it, have affection for it. Yeah, this makes sense more than, and then look inside. Do I have it or not? Then develop it, make it stable. We feel affection for our friends, so we should try to open our hearts to all beings, human or otherwise. Next, we need not only strengthen this love, but also make it unlimited by wishing that in all the realms of existence, all the realms, not even beings find true happiness and its deep cause, the state of total freedom, the wisdom inside us. There are a number of internal obstacles that can occur when one starts meditating on love. Really? Yes, nothing but, by the way. Anyway, one of those consists of excluding yourself from the love you are developing. This is very strange psychology, but very modern. One of these consists of excluding yourself from the love you are developing. Thinking of all beings, human and non-human, includes yourself too. It is important not to forget this. If you think, yes, I feel love for all beings, be careful that these are not just words. That would be too easy. Sometimes you even fail to include yourself entirely in this love. Superficially, you think you are dedicating yourself to all beings, but when you get down to it, you're not even looking after yourself. Think about it carefully. To love and help others, we have to know how to love ourselves. Feeling love on a vast scale naturally unblocks physical and mental tension. Big point. The mind has only to give up conceptualizing things for tension to disappear. The mind has only to give up conceptualizing things to make tension disappear. The resulting deep inner relaxation clears away physical illness and mental disturbances. Another obstacle that can occur is love as a selfish diversion. Think about it. If we look closely, aren't we being a bit obsessed by our own pleasure and comfort and being the center of the universe? This is different from loving yourself, isn't it? Loving yourself is a very serious thing that we really have to examine carefully. It's putting you in the company of everybody else, which you already are, not separating. And here he's saying the negative part, another obstacle that can occur is love as a selfish diversion. If we look closely, aren't we being a bit obsessed by our own pleasure and comfort and being the center of the universe? I thought I was the center. Wait a minute. We think that we love the people around us and want them to be happy, but quite often we love them for the comfort and security that they provide. This self-centeredness inevitably collapses when we cultivate true love. When that happens, we begin to truly help others. But, you might think, isn't there a danger that removing all subjectivity from my ability to love and extending it limitedly might affect my happiness and stability? The answer is on the contrary. There will grow from within a real sense of well being, more profound and genuine. You've tapped into the golden part of your being. You might be wondering, is it really appropriate in times as hard as ours to nurture such a fantastic dream? Is this really the path for me? Won't everyone try to take advantage of me and it will all go disastrously against me? Do not let yourself get carried away by thoughts like these. Instead, try to let bodhicitta grow as much as possible. As the wise have said, by helping others, one helps oneself. Love is, after all, an internal attitude. We're so hooked to the physical world. This is an internal attitude. Different metrics to measure. When you do something, try to do whatever is best for others. In particular, when you are in a situation where you have to be firm, make sure that what you do is based on kindness before you show the least severity. So you can be severe, like a mother has to be a little severe with disciplining a kid, but check your mind first before you start on that path. Loving others is essential, nevertheless. Unless this kind of openness is already spontaneous and constant, it is something we have to cultivate. The first step, as we mentioned above, is to commit ourselves to following the Bodhisattva path and joining this living lineage. During the practice, rely on the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as a support, taking them as witness to your wish and decision to cultivate love for the good of all from now on. Feel the presence of all these enlightened beings in the form of a powerful white light. Now he's going to use, since we're hooked to the physical world, and it's like tantric techniques made loosely. We're hooked to the physical world. So you want to work the imagination, you have to use physical things to hook on. Colors, lights, sounds, sometimes mandala houses, all that. That's the technique here, but don't get carried away with the physicality of things. It's a technique to develop a mental capacity, to bring it to its true destiny, Buddhahood. So feel the presence of those enlightened beings in the form of a powerful white light whose rays purify everything that could prevent the growth of bodhicitta. The light pours down on you and all beings. Using your breath, spread this light in turn over the infinity of different kinds of existence, all the realms. Considering that the enlightened mind latent in each individual develops fully, this light hits them and they realize their true nature, and they develop fully. For this practice, there are specific prayers that can be said, such as that contained in the short text, the preliminary practice of new treasure. So again, you can't say, well, I don't see any light going anywhere. Or there's some people, yes, I saw this great white light going to all the world. It's not the visual consciousness we're talking about. It's a way of imagining you giving your love to everyone. So right now, we have to use a physical thing to help us with that idea. That's all. And then this technique gets more and more refined. I'm not a tantric student. I don't know. I haven't been educated that way. But in general, you could see some of the points that they're making by using lights, smells, sights, etc., to captivate the mind and then change the internal mechanism. So you're now giving everything in the form of light. That's all. So, and here's the prayer. From now until the cycle of existence is emptied, I will work for the benefit and happiness of all beings, my own parents. They've all been our mothers and fathers, etc., because we've had billions, trillions of lives. So, same as in the yellow hat sect, same type of prayers. We can also simply think this, that's all. In order to progress on the path, we need to train in constantly increasing our kindness. One technique consists of looking inside and thinking to begin with of someone who is dear to you, and then extending that love to more and more beings. So you get the feeling and then you give it out, however you do it. The idea also, you have to keep the mind on the topic. You can't just give it out and all of a sudden you think you're having a pizza or whatever. That takes time and practice and the wish to really succeed, which when you see the benefits, you'll want to succeed. As we have seen, this kind of introspection sometimes causes a sensitive point or a blockage related to some past experience to surface. It may happen. This can go as far as revealing your own self-hatred. He's talking like a psychiatrist here. And it is difficult to develop the capacity to love and serve others if you are unable to love yourself. He comes back to the point. In such case, says, what do you do? In such cases, the first stage consists of working on yourself. To get over these blockages, you should look straight at the problem and concentrate on the light from all the enlightened beings, making believe they're helping you get this. I don't see any light. Never mind. You imagine it. Your body is made up of five elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and space. These five elements are also to be found in their pure state in the presence of the enlightened beings, whose light overflowing with blessings fills you, dissolving the exact point where your self-hatred arises. Use your breath as well, absorbing the blessings of the enlightened beings in the form of light, and in particular the subtle essence of the five elements. The light flooding into you sweeps away faults and acts on the blockages and points of imbalance. As you breathe out, think that you are freeing all these tensions, which are cleared away and dissolved. Persevere in this way, session after session, until the hostile attitude toward yourself disappears. So you're using these techniques to discipline your mind to keep going over this point. Because why do we have to go over it? I understand what it means. We have habit patterns. This is how you counter a habit pattern. Yes, we understand. Understanding goes only so far. You have to inculcate that understanding. And to do that, you have to block the former wrong understandings that keep coming up automatically. Anyway, that's why you have meditation. Otherwise, we'd announce everything. Here it is. You got it. Got the okay. That's it. You're done. I don't know. Yeah, which was so. Anyway, he continues on page 57. Oh boy. Once equilibrium and self-confidence have been restored, the feelings of guilt and the inability to confront life situations disappear. Oh, I don't want to think of it. I can't deal with it. I sweep all that sweeping under the rug disappears. You have confidence and you have courage, and it's natural. You don't have to work. Oh, got to do it. What's the big deal? When that starts to occur, things you weren't able to do before, but now, what's the big deal? Not that you're on your way. It's a good sign. It then becomes possible to wish that those close to us, our family, and all beings are happy, be happy. So we should begin by learning to love ourselves and become our own masters. However, no being can survive alone in the universe. Aren't we all connected to each other? Therefore, it is important to extend this love to all of those around us, without forgetting animals and other forms of existence, the whole six realms. It's that story when Lama Zopa would eat. It would take a long time. Nobody else could eat because his blessing for the food went on to the hell beings, the hungry ghosts, all the realms, and he did it elaborately. So, thank you, Babette. I'm glad you like it. You can direct this way of thinking to a being who is especially close to you, your mother, for example. Don't confine yourself to any negative traits that she might have. Think about her good qualities. Yeah, this happens on my mom. So I have such a conflict. You want to put that aside for now. Think the other way. Think this way. It's giving you a hint. Whatever your relation with her is nowadays, your mother is still the person who gave you this precious human life that you now have. Taking birth is no small matter. Most of the time in the bardo, the intermediate state between death and the next rebirth, one's consciousness is wandering desperately in search of a womb in which to take shelter. Finding a mother is not easy because one can take shelter only in the womb of a being with whom one has established a very strong relationship in the past. During pregnancy for 9 months, the mother nourishes the future child with her own vital essence. All the baby brings along is its consciousness. While the father contributes his semen, all the rest is the mother's responsibility. It hardly ever happens that she can give birth without pain or difficulty. According to the teachings, at the moment of delivery, both the mother and the baby have one foot in the grave. It's that painful and dangerous. After that, if the newborn baby immediately became an adult, the mother could then finally take it easy. Okay, that's done. But for many, many years, her child needs constant care. And those of you who are mothers know the story. I don't have to tell you. You know it more than I would ever know it right now in this life. After birth, the family and friends all arrive and go into rapture over the baby. Even though it is about as wretched as a worm, unable to speak, it can only move a little bit and cry. When we were tiny, we even used our mother's knees as a toilet, didn't we? She had to look after us for everything without ever letting up until we became independent. And the baby gets all the attraction of the poor mother who brought in. Yeah, I don't know. Some people think that their mother owes them all this on account of their karmic connection. Ooh. And that it's the parents' duty to look after their children. Yeah. Some of these people are like 30 years old and still think that. I'm sorry. I've seen it. Even if it were so, we should recognize that what that represents in terms of time and kindness. But for the moment, it is hard for us to understand that. As is explained in the teachings, as long as the eye of wisdom has not opened, we tend to look at others' faults rather than their qualities. You can repeat that as a mantra. As long as the eye of wisdom has not opened, we tend to look at others' faults rather than their qualities, indicating or implying a habitual pattern. That's what we see. When you have wisdom, you don't see that. That's why they say, think of only the guru's qualities. Force yourself. When wisdom takes birth, we can see what happens in the intermediate state and then realize how difficult it is to find the mother. When you finally see the whole picture, you realize, wow, it was hard. So, as we reflect on how much she has given us, we should ask ourselves how we can thank her and how we can relieve the suffering of all our mothers, the one in our present life and those in our countless previous lives. Indeed, sometime without beginning, we have had thousands of millions of incarnations on this earth alone and on other planets. And in all of them, we've had to have a body. How many beings have been our mother at one time or another in one world or another? There is not a single one of them to whom we are not related. This is the eye of wisdom talking. One of the ways in which we can show our gratitude to all those beings who have been our parents is do our best to provide each one with what they need. And the best way to do that is to have a good heart and lavish impartiality on all of them, our love, compassion, and joy. To practice and come to a deep realization of bodhicitta is the most effective way to help them in this present life and in the intermediate state. Big points. So we'll leave it at that. Next section will be compassion. Maybe we'll do it next time. Maybe we'll schedule it for the future. Oh, I got a message. Are we having trouble with the transmission? Okay, no problem. So, alarm rim. Yay. Right? We're going to page 190 or so. In fact, 190 itself, not or so. Lamrim, Volume 3, page 190. It's the chapter called Production is Not Refuted. I skipped a little, but transmission good. Okay, thanks, Darren. Yeah, I couldn't read the message. All right. So page 190, third of the way down. He's quoting, right, actually the third paragraph. Nagarjuna, there's a question risen now. Somebody says, Nagarjuna's treatise says, fundamental treatise, the Madhyamika, Mula Madhyamika Karaka. If there was the slightest trace which is non-empty, then a trace of emptiness would exist as well. As there is no trace that is not empty, how could there be a trace of emptiness? They give you that statement, and then they conclude, therefore, because there is nothing that is not empty, the emptiness that is the absence of intrinsic existence also does not exist. Again, empty of inherent existence, he's saying, means not existent. So then the reply comes out. Here in the fundamental treatise, empty and non-empty refer to being empty and not empty of intrinsic nature. And they are used in this way throughout the entire text, from beginning to end. Thus, not empty of intrinsic nature means having intrinsic nature. What could be more ridiculous than your position that since there is no intrinsic nature, the emptiness that is the absence of intrinsic nature also does not exist? He's going to give another example of this. Furthermore, the definite knowledge which apprehends that something such as a seedling lacks essential or intrinsic nature apprehends that there is no intrinsic nature in the seedling. It does not think this absence of intrinsic nature exists, nor does it think this absence of intrinsic nature does not exist. No, you saw, oh, it's not inherently existent. That's it. You don't go to these next two words. It exists or doesn't exist. Close your eyes. Turn inward. You know this. It's very easy to understand. We said this last week, but I have to repeat it. It would not be appropriate to apprehend the absence of intrinsic nature as existing in that way. Suppose that this did mean that it is proper to use reason to refute the existence of emptiness in order to overcome the conception that the absence of intrinsic nature exists. You would still have to hold that you are refuting the object of some other mind which apprehends the absence of intrinsic nature as something that exists. It would be quite wrong, exists inherently, by the way. It would be quite wrong to refute that the object of the wisdom that realizes that a seedling does not intrinsically exist. Okay, and he's going to explain it a little more easily now. When we refute the essential or intrinsic nature of a seedling, a plant, or whatever, we have definite knowledge that the seedling does not intrinsically exist. Okay, looks like it intrinsically exists, but it came from causes, and now I see that no matter what it looks like, it's not. Using, thinking and then, even if some other awareness apprehends that absence of intrinsic nature as existing, reason does not refute the object of the other mind. However, if that mind holds that emptiness exists essentially, then reason does refute that. We're talking about the emptiness of emptiness now. That's what he's getting at. Page 191, a qualm is raised. Was, how could someone develop an apprehension that the absence of intrinsic nature intrinsically exists? Yeah, how could they? Reply, in perceiving the seedling's lack of intrinsic nature, you do not establish this lack as the seedling's intrinsic nature. Still, you might develop the idea that the absence of intrinsic nature is the intrinsic nature of the seedling. Yeah, that's it. That's what it really is. It's emptiness. It's what pointing at reality. Nope. That's why it's necessary to bring in the emptiness of emptiness. Hold on. For example, in the absence of a pot, you would not develop the idea. The truth is that there is a pot. But you might develop the idea the truth is that there is no pot. All right? And accordingly, since there is nothing at all that is not empty of intrinsic existence, doesn't mean there's nothing intrinsic existence. It is perfectly reasonable to say that even the emptiness, which is the seedling's lack of intrinsic nature, lacks essential nature. This is the emptiness of emptiness. Chandrakirti's commentary on the 400 stanzas speaks of refuting the essential existence of emptiness. Yeah, you're thinking, well, that's the final nature is emptiness. I'm pointing out I can see the emptiness. No, hang on. In that, here is Chandrakirti who will then quote Aryadeva. Everybody's handing off to everybody else in this world. If that which is called emptiness did have some essential existence, then things would have intrinsic nature. If it exists in a little bit, then everything has it. Remember that? If there is something that is intrinsically existent, then there can't be any emptiness. So, however, it does not. And to indicate this, Aryadeva's 400 stanzas, the Katuta Sataka says, Katu Sataka, as there is nothing that is not empty, from what can emptiness arise? As there is nothing to oppose, how can there be a remedy? A little tricky with that, but let's see. If you disagree, Tsong-kha-pa says, and you refute the existence of the emptiness, which is the absence of intrinsic nature, then the absence of intrinsic nature would not exist. And then what happens? In that case, since essential intrinsic nature would exist, it would be totally inappropriate. If one thing doesn't exist, you imply the other. There's no emptiness of intrinsic existence. That means that things do intrinsically exist. People lost track of this, of their train of thought. That's all this is about. One of the ways. That's an easy way to look at it. For this, in this vein, Nagarjuna's refutation of objection says, how could the absence of intrinsic nature in my words refute my claim that things lack intrinsic nature? If the absence of intrinsic nature were refuted, then the presence of intrinsic nature would be proven, just what we said. And Nagarjuna's commentary on the refutation of objections, I forgot what that is anyway, in Sanskrit, commenting on that says very clearly, objection, Your Honor, just as someone might stop the sound with the sound, don't make a sound. So the absence of intrinsic existence in your words refutes your claim that there is no intrinsic nature in things. And he said, the example is correct, but your point is not. Here, words that have no intrinsic nature do refute the intrinsic existence of things. If the absence of intrinsic nature in words could refute the absence of intrinsic nature in things, then this would refute the absence of intrinsic nature itself, and all of a sudden things are intrinsically existent. Therefore, things would have intrinsic nature, as he said, and because of having intrinsic nature, they would not be empty. Somebody's going to make it a little easier. Buddha Palada has a nice example. Therefore, just after the passage in the fundamental treatise cited above, how can there be a trace of emptiness? Nagarjuna says, the conqueror says that emptiness eradicates all dogmatic view. As for those who take a dogmatic view of emptiness, he said they're incurable. How do I get to this guy? Again, having a dogmatic view of emptiness does not mean taking the view that things are empty of intrinsic nature. It means thinking of emptiness, emptiness of intrinsic nature, as truly existent or viewing it as a, quote, real thing. For Buddha Palada's commentary on the fundamental treatise says this very clearly, giving an example. Here's very nice. This is a beauty. On page 192, half the page, in the middle of the page, Buddha Palada's comment. It is possible to overcome the misconception of those who think that things exist essentially. Yeah, that's what we do. You can explain emptiness and show them that things are empty of essence, saying, as these are dependent arisings, they are designated as this or that thing through the force of causes and conditions. Things do not exist essentially. Oh, yeah, they do exist, so they can't exist. Okay. However, Buddhapalada says, there is no way to overcome the misconception of those who think that emptiness is a real thing. For example, if you tell something, I have nothing, and that person then says, well, give me that nothing. Yeah. How could you make that person understand that you have nothing? Now, Tsong-kha-pa reiterates that. If it is not taken in this way, for example, if it is not taken in this way, the example would also be inappropriate. Suppose you say to me, give me some money. And I reply, I have no money. If you conclude this person has no money, and then there's no problem. He has no money. Right? However, if you think that no money, think of no money as a kind of money, as a thing, then there's no way I can assure you that I have no money. In just the same way, suppose you ask, do things have intrinsic nature or not? And I say they do not have intrinsic nature. If you then think things do not have intrinsic nature, okay, how could that be a problem? That's right. I wanted you to get this idea. However, if you think that things' lack of intrinsic nature is itself intrinsically existent, then there is a problem. I have no money. Well, give me that no money. Can't. You got a problem now. You're stuck. You're incurable. Get out of here. No. According to your interpretation, when you hear me say that I have no money and then develop the idea this person has no money, then even that idea must be refuted. So it would be wonderful for you to rely on what I have said. Yeah, you're not getting any money. You need to rely on what he said, on the face value. Also, in the clear words, Chandrakirti speaks of clinging to emptiness as a real thing. Hence, he's not refuting emptiness itself. There is no fault in simply having the view of emptiness. It's your clinging to it as a thing, as something. Yeah, give me that no money. The verse summary in the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines, the Ratnaguna Sankhya Gata says, oh yeah? What does it say? A bodhisattva who thinks the aggregates are empty is meditating on signs and lacks faith in the realm of non-production. Also, Nagarjuna's precious Garland says, therefore the great sage refuted views of self and selfnesses. Although, Tsong-kha-pa says, these and other scriptures and treatises say that it is wrong to have a view of emptiness or selflessness. You should understand them as I've explained above. Yeah, he means taking emptiness as a real thing. Otherwise, there will be contradict great many statements in other texts. The Heart Sutra, in the Heart Sutra, Prajna Paramitas Hridaya Sutra, Sharaputra Eskabaloti Kateshva, how one who wishes to practice the profound practice of wisdom should train. Wait, we heard this just before. In reply, Avalokiteshvara says a bodhisattva should correctly view those five aggregates as empty of intrinsic existence. The verse summary of the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines says, one who knows that phenomena do not intrinsically exist is practicing the supreme perfection of wisdom. So sometimes you have to interpret words. It looks like they're saying, oh yeah, if you meditate on empties, you're dealing in signs. Meditate on empties the wrong way. So you have to understand the context. You can't just pull quotes out. Very big point in Buddhism. Pardon me for a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chandrakirti's commentary in the middle way says, one who knows phenomena do not intrinsically exist is practicing supreme perfection of wisdom. That's the perfection of wisdom in 8,000 lines. Chandrakirti comes in and says, Consequently, a yogi views the emptiness of self and that which belongs to the self and thereby becomes free. So come on, this is what you're supposed. Therefore, the root of all problems is the ignorance that superimposes intrinsic existence. Bang the gavel. There is only one consciousness that can uproot it by apprehending things in a way that explicitly contradict it. Yeah, you want to get rid of it? This is the only way. There's no other way out. This is it. That consciousness is the wisdom that knows selflessness, the absence of intrinsic existence. As this is so, if you refute this way of apprehending things, then you will have to admit, albeit unwillingly, that you are refuting the view of reality, the real reality. So you have to a big point, a little wordy and stuff, but Geshe Sopa's going to repeat it next class a little bit more smoothly, maybe more modern. But this is pretty good. At the point where Arya Davis 400 stanza says, there is no second order practice, Chandrakirti's commentary on the 400 stanzas says, the extinction of attachment is the cause of attaining nirvana. And except for the view of the absence of intrinsic existence, there is no other teaching that can cause that extinction of attachment. Thus, selflessness, characterized by the absence of intrinsic existence, is the one and only door to peace. That's it. You go through that only. As a gateway to the city of Nirvana, it is alone, and nothing can match it. You want to go to Nirvana, guys? You got to go through the door of no intrinsic existence. Thank you. So now you got the address. How are you going to get there? It's your business. Although there are three doors of liberation, emptiness, silence, wishness, still only the view of selflessness takes priority, yes. If you know phenomena without exception as selfless and thereby extinguish every attachment to all things, then how could you ever long for anything or apprehend signs in anything? Because of this, selflessness alone is the one and only door to peace. Therefore, the equipment for enlightenment, the Jangchub Chitsog explains, because phenomena do not intrinsically exist, they are empty. Further, because phenomena are empty, what use are signs? Inasmuch as they have overcome all signs, why would the learned wish for such phenomena? Thus, Chandrakirti clears up the apparent contradiction between scriptural explanation that there are three doors to liberation and other texts which explain the view of emptiness of intrinsic existence is the only door to liberation. There are three, but the prime one is this. He uses scripture and reasoning to prove that just this view is the door to liberation. We have the three poisons, attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Ignorance is the key. You get rid of that, you're getting rid of the attachment and the aversion, because ignorance of the way things are is eliminated. What are you going to go after? What are you going to repel? That's it. Last paragraph of the chapter. Why should the mere negation of intrinsic nature imply the refutation of the object of wisdom? It should not, for such knowledge remedies the conception of the two selves of persons and things as signs, and it even lacks the trace of such a misconception. If we regard as defective even such a conception and refute all conceptuality of any sort, good or bad, then it is evident that you want to set up the system of the Chinese abbot Hashang. He has to take a shot at Hashang. Can't let the poor guy rest. Anyway, you got the point. That's the end of the 15th chapter. We'll do it from Geshe Sopa's point of view next class. For whom will we pray? Let me see. I have sometimes, I got a few things now. Yeah, when a cat meows and cries, how could I do it? I'm giving class. It's a she anyway. Good evening to Betsy and her friends. What else? Who else to pray for? Hiya kids. Bulla Aradna. All right, so whoever you wish to pray, there's so many. You're on your own. Sutra, the recollection of the noble three jewels. I prostrate to the omniscient one. That's the Buddha, Bhagava, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak, Sam Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit, does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He's completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavat, who arises in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The Holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So before we do the 8 verses, we will do the praise of Tsong-kha-pa recommended by His Holiness, prayer for the spreading of the teachings of J. Tsong-kha-pa. And His Holiness recommends we say this as a further cause of the quick reappearance of Rato Chungla Rinpoche to us here on this earth, on this planet. It's on the website. Though he's the father, producer of all conquerors, as a conqueror's son, he produced the thought of upholding the conqueror's dharma in infinite worlds. Through this truth, may the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. When of yore in the presence of Buddha Indraketu, he made his vow, the conqueror and his offspring praised his powerful courage. Through this truth, may the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. That the lineage of pure view and conduct might spread, he offered a white crystal rosary to the sage who gave him a conch and prophesied. Through this truth, may the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. His pure view free of eternity or destruction, his pure meditation cleansed of dark fading and fog, his pure conduct practiced according to the conqueror's orders, may the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. Learned, since he extensively sought out learning. Reverent, rightly applying it to himself. Good, dedicating all for beings and the doctrine. May the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. Through being sure that all scriptures, definitive and interpretive, are without contradiction, advice for one person's practice, he stopped all misconduct. May the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. Listening to explanations of the 3 Pitakas, realized teachings, practice of the 3 trainings, his skilled and accomplished life story is amazing. May the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. Outwardly calmed and subdued by the hearer's conduct, inwardly trusting in the 2 stages practice, he allied without clash the good paths of Sutra and Tantra. May the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. Combining voidness explained as the causal vehicle with great bliss achieved by method, the effect vehicle. Heart essence of 80,000 Dharma bundles, may the Karkwa Losang's teachings flourish. By the power of the ocean of oath-bound doctrine protectors, like the main guardians of the 3 beings' paths, the quick-acting Lord, Vaishravana, Karmayama, may the conqueror of Losang's teachings flourish. In short, by the lasting of glorious gurus' lives, by the earth being full of good, learned, reverend holders of the teaching, and by the increase of power of its patrons, may the conqueror of Losang's teachings flourish. Now, 8 verses on training the mind. They used to say 4 trainings, on training. I'll get it right. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others, out of jealousy, treat me badly with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. For those of you in the New York City area, kindly be careful. Walk around outside with a mask. You used to have to wear the mask inside, now you got to wear it outside. But it's not funny. It's pretty bad. Even here in the other side of the river, there's ash on some of the plants and everything. So we're getting a good dose of what poor California had for the last year or so. Anyway, thank you very much for your kind, patient listening to a very difficult topic, but it's the thing that gets us out of jail. So just hearing it alone cracks samsara. Even if you say this can't be real, if there's a doubt about it, it still cracks samsara. So anyway, big love to all of you. Thank you for patient listening. Stay safe, guys.